Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this March the 31st version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up?
Going well. Good morning.
Good morning, yeah. And Wade is jumping in with us because just good to have him here with us this morning, and he's going to help us. But we are going to we're altering our routine just a little bit because Zee Gimon is with us. She happens to be in Berlin this morning. She is from Ukraine, and they have moved from Kiev to Berlin a couple of weeks ago, and she only has a very limited amount of time. And so we're going to pull her in right away. Hey, Z, how are you?
Pretty good. Hello.
Yeah, considering everything, right? Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
it's evening there, huh?
Yeah.
It's 5 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. How did our day go?
Pretty good. We're this week we started. We arrived in Berlin pretty much 2 weeks ago. You can say 2 weeks, and we have been in contact with a local church that is not a Nazarene church, but through school that our kids attend. We've started sort of like I guess it was just a German classes for kids at the very beginning, but it turns out to be it's turning into a ministry that we are doing here to help Ukrainians connect. So we have my mom and I are there in the class. We have a classroom of our own, so we have kids coming to us every once in a while that have left Ukraine and they're studying in the local school right now, where they can come whenever they don't understand a bit of German, because all of us are learning right now. Most of us know English, but it's not like you have to learn German to navigate well. So we have the kids that come every once in a while, and whenever we don't have kids in the classroom, we have adults. So their parents, their grandparents, mostly moms and grandmas, because men mostly they stay behind in Ukraine. So we talk about the events in Ukraine. We talk about the experiences we had. We talk about German. We learn German, which is quite ironic that Ukrainians are hiding from Russians in Germany. Anyone who has studied the history of the latest century will see that a Jewish president sending his people, like supporting his people, hiding from Russians in Germany is, the world has gone upside down.
I guess so. Oh, well, Z, we talked to you. It's probably been a couple of weeks ago, maybe longer, about maybe almost 3 weeks ago.
Probably
when we
3,
talked.
yeah.
Yeah. And you had relocated. You were still in Kiev, excuse me, but you had relocated from your home to where your mom was, and you guys, during the bombing sirens, you guys were finding shelter. Tell us quickly how and for those that have not watched before, your husband is a part of the resistance in Kiev, and he's still there. What led you to leave finally? Because that was something that you guys had considered carefully. You have 2 teenage kids, is that right?
12 and 10, but going on teenage, yeah.
Yeah, they probably feel like they're teenagers. Yeah. So anyhow, tell us kind of what led to that decision to you to evacuate.
It was I cannot really say what has led to it, because it was a very sudden decision for us, because mom and I were both planning on staying in Kiev. But when the Russians started getting closer to Kiev, we decided that maybe for our guys it would be easier because my mom's husband works in a factory that produces weapons. So he had to go work also. And with my husband in territorial defense, paramilitary, and mom's husband going to work in the factory, in the military factory, that we decided that it would be easier to just leave so that they have a chance to focus on their own survival and like staying alive and everything, so that and not worry about us at home. So yeah, and a friend of ours was just 2 miles away from us, and he said that he's got a empty car, so he can take us to the central Ukraine, to a city in central Ukraine. So we based like literally the decision was made in an hour. From the decision to leaving, it was an hour.
Wow.
So, and we like the kids and I didn't have anything pretty much with us. So yeah, we bought pretty much all of the stuff here when we came to Berlin, and there were other, like we had neighbors who also brought a lot of stuff. We had two families from the school where the kids are right now, who took the kids shopping for clothes. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I mean, considering everything, I think our experience moving here was one of the easiest because we were literally transferred from friends to friends. We stayed in, we moved from Kiev to Vinica. We stayed there for 2 days. Then another friend took us from Vinica to Lviv, which is in Western Ukraine. Then my father-in-law brought us to the border of Poland with Poland. So we crossed on foot because he could not get out. We crossed on foot, and our friends from the Nazarene Church met us there at the very front gate of the border. Got us on a train to Poznan, where a large part of the Church of Nazarene in Kiev was located, because they all moved to Poznan. And then my cousin drove to Poznan and took us to Berlin. So all in all, 5 days, but it wasn't in a rush. It was, my kids didn't even, we were discussing evacuation, and my kids were like, but we didn't evacuate, we just traveled. So I guess we managed to make it not as horrible experience as it could have been.
So, and tell us how many driving hours it is from Kyiv to the Poland border, and then from the Poland border to where you are now.
Standard driving hours, it would be from Kyiv to Poland border where we crossed, it would be about 10 hours. If you don't stop, if you just drive, and if the roads are good. Because right now the main route there is bombed, so we had to go around. And from border of Poland to Berlin, it's probably about 12 hours. So
How was, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you're still processing that whole, but how was that experience? How was that? I mean, crossing the border. I mean, did it seem a little surreal? I mean, how are you? I don't know. I'm just trying to relate to that. Yeah.
Actually, I cried a lot when we made the decision, because we just like neither mom nor I wanted to leave, and we keep still like it's one of those times when we can go anywhere in the world. We literally were invited pretty much all over. I think I just didn't get any invitation to Australia, but I still have friends there, so we could go there. But it's one of those things, like you can go anywhere, the borders are open for Ukrainians, especially refugees, but you only want to be home. So that was hard to make the decision to leave. But once we made the decision, everything else was like, okay, so we left Kiev, so it's everything else kind of doesn't matter because we're not home anyway. So yeah, it was. Um, it feels weird because Germany. I don't know any German. Well, now I know German. We're learning German, and thankfully we're in Berlin where I can use my English. But still, I'm used to the fact that I'm always translating for Americans coming to Ukraine, and here I'm on the receiving end where I have to look for people to translate for me, which is extremely frustrating. So yeah.
So it sounds kind of like the school, the classes that you are a part of are a little bit of a helpful distraction to everything that's going on. Is that, I don't know.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm happy for the school in general. It's a school that is led by the church, evangelical church. I don't know denomination. I don't think they have a denomination, but this is a private school, and they are working hard on building a community. So they have a school, they have a kindergarten, they have diaconie, which is a like a uh, compassion ministries sort of thing, I would say. And then they have this community room where church meetings and small groups are taking place. So everybody is very welcoming, and my kids have enjoyed the school immensely because uh, it's not very because it's a private school, it's not very formal in a way that Ukrainian schools are formal. So that was helpful even for them because we thought that they're going to be with us in the community room for most of the day, but actually they come for a lesson or two and then they're gone to spend time with their friends in class. So I don't know how much they're learning because it's all in German. And again, we have no clue pretty much. We are guessing by context, but yeah, it's very helpful to us to be helpful to other Ukrainians.
Mm.
So that has been mine and my mom's experience. That because I'm almost a pastor and she is a pastor she has been a pastor for 25 years. So for us, it's important to be useful, not just to sit and wait for something to happen, but actually to be useful. And when we're being useful to the people by using our English to translate from German to English, from English to Russian or Ukrainian, because that's my daily. That was my days for since Tuesday because I get lost in German, Spanish, Ukrainian, Russian, and English because all of this is going on all the time. But at the same time, being able to help somebody helps us psychologically to know that we're not just here living on social aid um, for nothing. So yeah.
What about the kids? How are the kids' mental health? Like, how are they holding up?
I think, I hope, I can only hope that they're okay. They get tired from not understanding stuff, but both of them have Russian speaking kids in their classes. So that helps. And because for them, it's also their first time out of Ukraine. So they have never had an experience where they were in a country where nobody speaks their language. And so they have to either use their little bits of English that mom and dad were telling them to learn for years. That's like, you do need English. They're also learning German. Of course, it's slow, but they're communicating with kids with gestures and everything. So yeah, I think later this has impacted them for sure. So yeah, but at the same time, I think especially compared to many other stories that I've heard about kids in Ukraine from other areas, ours were lucky in terms of the fact that there was not excessive bombing when we were still in Kiev. So it was mostly annoyance with the sirens and sitting in the corridor, but it was not active fear that we might die. Yeah,
So we got to turn you loose here soon. But tell me, are you in contact with the guys, and then also how you think the resistance and the war is going? What are you hearing?
Ukraine will win, that's for sure, because there's just no other way. Um, my hope is that fewer lives will be lost in this stupid thing. Right now, there have been political talks in Turkey as the neutral ground about the status of Ukraine and the military operation that Russia is doing here. But right now, I think because Putin sees that he has absolutely no way of winning this, so he will probably just concentrate on the East that was in the war for last 8 years in Crimea, the peninsula. So probably that would be his main target right now. I am not a politician, so I have absolutely not. I'm not a diplomat, so I have no idea how it's going to end up because there are too many conflicting information, conflicting information about the issues. I hope that it will end soon. But on the other hand, there are rumors that Putin is planning on attacking Poland and Germany and other countries that belong to NATO. So I wouldn't pass anything by him now. So we'll see. Because yeah, with him nothing is predictable. But the Russian forces have been withdrawing from Chernobyl today. That was the latest thing. They say they were not aware of the radiation in the 30-kilometer zone, which is to any thinking person is weird because like if you're over 30 years old, then everybody knows about radiation near Chernobyl. So but they claim they had no idea that it's going to affect their health. Oh well, I'm sorry guys, it has.
And are you hearing from your guys?
Yeah, we're in constant contact. Thank God for messengers. And yeah, so right now this war has reimagined the meaning of a smiley and a messenger. Because even when you get a smiley at the end, like I asked Sam to send me a message, like a smiley at the end of the shifts. He has 3 shifts where he's actively in duty. So I asked him to send me those as he ends his shift, just so I know that everything's okay. Like I know he's tired, but even a smiley now means that he's still alive. So
wow,
it's crazy, but yeah, smileys are good.
Well, Zee, thanks so much for taking the time in your afternoon and our morning to jump on. And there's been quite a few people that have followed your story, and I know that they'll be excited to have an update. So
Cool. Thanks for having me.
anything you guys want to say before we take off? Let her go.
Just
good.
we're praying for you. We're praying
Yeah.
for you and your family and the Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. And I think by the prayers of pretty much the entire world, we're still standing. So
Yeah.
Keep praying.
All right. Hey,
All
thank
right.
you, Z. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Wow. It's hard to talk about just normal life.
Mhm.
Yeah. When something so heavy, it's like, man, goodness sakes, here we are so fortunate in little old Eastern Oregon, and our life is just so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'll send a smiley face without thinking about her story now in a text.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, hey, let's
Rewind.
what's that?
Rewind.
Let's start from the beginning, right? Drip, drip, drip. So, hey, glad you guys are here. Please feel free to comment and ask questions and so on and so on and so forth as we continue. Well, I had the weather. Here we go. Kind of nice day out there. Looks kind of frosty. I guess we didn't do the sports. Let's do the.
I was wondering. You're all out of sorts.
Yeah, I'm all
You
out
change
of.
everything up, and then you get lost.
Of
We
course
gotta
I do.
Bring it back to sports. Let's just do weather since we're here.
All right, we're here on
Fire it
weather.
off.
Yep. All right. Let me find the clip. I'm lost here. Oh, here we go. All right.
Heading into the day on Thursday, we'll be tapping out into the mid to the upper 40s towards the central part of our region. We're tracking mid to the upper 50s elsewhere. We could even see temperatures approaching 60 down in Ontario. Other than a spotty shower to the northern part of our region throughout the first half of the day, the rest of our region will see dry conditions with gradual clearing up north, just some filtered sunshine down south. Heading into the day on Thursday for La Grande, it does look like this. We'll start out into the mid-30s at 9 o'clock. We could see an isolated snowflake. I think the best potential would be up higher in elevation. Otherwise, we'll see that quickly diminish as we see those clouds trying to gradually clear out as we rise into the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. Northwesterly winds will blow up to 25 miles per hour in spots during the afternoon. Heading into my short-term forecast for the Grand Ronde Valley, we'll top near 50 tomorrow, a little bit colder. If we see less sunshine, we'll drop into the upper 20s overnight. More sunshine for Friday as we are into the upper 50s. Moisture chances increase after midnight.
Boom.
He's just like he sounds. He kind of draws his words out like a weatherman does. It's just kind of
He's practiced that for sure.
He has.
Does a great job.
He does a wonderful job. All righty, Kyle.
LHS baseball this weekend. They'll be on the coast for some road games. They're going to play Astoria, North Marion. Has anybody ever seen North Marion's baseball field? BC, Wade. It's like a minor league baseball field. It's the nicest field in the whole state. It is absolutely gorgeous.
I don't even know where is it at.
It's outside of Salem. I think it's like
okay.
I can't remember the town. It's really close to Salem though. It's just gorgeous though. It's got like dug in dugouts. It's got press boxes. It's got old wood. It's just they must have some money there because it's like a minor league baseball park. Softball, La Grande tomorrow, 2-4 here home. Their first home games of the year against Banks. EOU softball will be on the road. I took some pictures. I'll fire them up while I'm talking about them. They lost 2 to C of I on Tuesday. C of I is the number 5 team in the country. The polls I think should be coming out today, and we should actually move into the top 25 even with some losses. So we'll see where we're at there. And then baseball is on the road in British Columbia this weekend on Sunday. So they lost 2 on Saturday at home to Bushnell. Sunday they come back and get 2 against Bushnell, so they split. But the crazy thing is that second game on Sunday was almost like close to 5 hours long. It was like the final score was 16-13. We won EOU, and it was just crazy. It was a long, drawn-out game. Eastern Oregon Track and Field is on the road this weekend. I think they're in like I don't know, Northwest Nazarene. Maybe I think that there might be a track meet there. Do they have a track there?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought I heard maybe. Yeah. So men's and women's on the road, and then EOU towards the end of this month will host. Towards the end of April, obviously not the end of this month. This month is over, but we'll host the CCC championship for field events. So for like throws and the decathlon, where we'll see national champions TJ Davis compete in the decathlon. So yeah, that's about it for sports. Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen tonight, 5:30. We're gonna have a special guest. And forgive me if I say this name wrong. This one's tough. Talissa Boldavino, I believe. She's a former EOU athlete, track and field, ran for Ben Welch up there, and she's a corrections officer at the jail now. And we're going to talk a little bit about just local stuff that's going on. And we're going to do it all on a different format.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so
It's going
excited.
to be in person. Yeah.
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 So it'll be all three of us up on the stage instead of me sitting behind my computer and the guests on stage. So that should be interesting. The Cody Bowen Show tonight, 5:30 right here on EOA Live. Brought to you by BC.
Loveland Safe Ride.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. And it's funny because I reached out to Kevin to see if he could jump in tonight, and I didn't hear from him. So because I thought it'd be kind of fun to him just to make an appearance. But anyhow,
Wait,
yeah, really,
are you starting to see a trend, Wade? Have you seen a trend yet? He just hits like surprises constantly. Like, oh,
Yeah.
by the way, Wade's going to be in the picture with us when we open up. Oh, by the way, I just take it.
You're
like
so good about going with the flow, Kyle. So relaxed about
Well,
it.
I'm just kind of used to it by now.
like, okay,
Did you on
It's
another
like, all
sports
right, we'll just do it.
yeah.
on another sports note? I know it's not local, but did you see the U.S. men qualified for the World?
World Cup. We also
That's
have a
pretty big.
goalkeeper that graduated from EOU last year, who's the goalkeeper for the Philippine national team. She'll play in the World Cup herself.
Wow.
As the goalkeeper. They won the Asian Games or the Pan Asian Games, the Filipino team, and they're going to play, and she's going to play in the World Cup. Kira Fontanilla is her name.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We got a EOU kid that's going to play in the World Cup.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then, I mean, just for us, what do we got? What do we got going on? We have stuff coming up. I'm cracking my brain.
New month coming up.
It's already here.
I
Tomorrow's
know.
April Fool's Day, and you're not even going to be here. So I can't even play a trick on you.
That's right. Yeah,
I'll get John Marvel. Make sure
Yeah.
Marvel works tomorrow.
he does. We can
Good.
figure out something.
Yeah. Remember when me and him got Max? Oh,
That's
goodness.
what I was just thinking
Set
about.
the
Tell that
cameras
story.
up
That
in
is so funny. Yeah.
Oh man!
But you got to explain who Max
McCullough,
is for people. Yeah.
All-American basketball player, all-time leading scorer at EOU. He was Johnny and I's intern, and he helped out here with my sports show here. He was struggling at the free throw line bad, like he had the yips, and Marvel's like one of his biggest fans. John Marvel next door. Max brings him shirts, EOU gear, and John gets all excited. Well, I set up a camera in the room next door, and I wish I had the clip right here, but basically Max went in there and John just hit him up about his free throws.
It's like,
And Max is just looking at him like,
what did he say? Is like, oh yeah, you need to practice those free throws.
No, here's what he said. Max walked in and I had this all pre-planned out with John, and Max goes, Max, I'm surprised you're here. And Max goes, why? Johnny goes, I figured you'd be in the gym working on your free throws. And dude, I thought, yeah, it was, yeah. It was
Oh,
good.
that was like Max.
was-
I'm sure was like, I'm trying to be
He
nice to this
couldn't
kid.
believe
And
it.
it's
Yeah,
like,
he's like, I'm about to go.
That's
Max
amazing.
just recently moved. He got a job in Coeur d'Alene.
Mm.
He's gonna be. He's a title officer. His girlfriend was working for Mays, and they made it so she could do her job remotely. So, you know what he was telling me? Guess how much a apartment costs in Coeur d'Alene?
It's all astronomical.
$2,200 a month
Wow.
for an apartment.
Yeah. Coeur d'Alene's a
That's a
pretty
lot of
hot
money.
spot to live, though.
Yeah.
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 Beautiful.
I got another Max story while we're just sitting here. This is one of my favorites of all time. I'm watching the live stream, right? They're playing Montana Tech. And I'm watching the live stream, Montana Tech's announcers talking. And at the time, Montana Tech had a Post Falls kid on their team. So a kid from the same town as Max, Post Falls, on their team. Well, they're announcing the EOU players, and the Montana Tech announcer says, and now the pride of Post Falls, Max McCullough, and they got a Post Falls guy on their own team, and they're calling Max the pride of Post Falls. That would be, you know what I mean? It would be like if we were playing C of I, and some random person was, like on their team, or Peasley was on their team, and we had like somebody from here on EOU, and we said, and now the pride of LeGrand, Andrew. Gosh, man.
Maybe it was an inside joke. Maybe it was April
No,
Fool's Day.
it was not an inside. There's no way, man. There's no way. I mean, they were sick. I mean, he probably is the best basketball player out of Post Falls ever. I've never heard of anybody else. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, you got a dude that's playing on your team from that town. You probably don't say that. I mean, they probably crushed the poor kid's confidence. He probably thought he was the pride of Post Falls.
Yeah. He stayed home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was she was a lot shorter than we expected today, huh?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. And what we just had time, we had our time confused a little bit. She wasn't, I mean, at first when she signed on, everybody signs on a little bit before the show, and she's like, I got 15 minutes. Well, 15 minutes was like when the show started. So it took a little bit of convincing for her to check with her schedule and make sure that she could stay a little bit longer. So
what an amazing story of how much help she's received, though, not only from the church, but from neighbors, people just stepping up all over the place to help them. Family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she didn't. There's, if you follow her Facebook, there's the story that she shares. It's really cute. So you could see in the background, you could see the cat and the tail of the cat and so on.
Yes.
So as they're at the border, and getting ready to go through, or they were on the other side. I can't remember the exact details. And somebody says, "Well, is that your cat?" And she said, well, yeah. And she was expecting them to say, well, you can't, she was expecting something. And it's like, well, we've been knitting these sweaters or these little pads for cats. And they were giving, people were doing this as a compassionate extension. And so it was just one of those little things of kindness that impacted her, in the midst of this crazy situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, her talking about crying, just that, having an hour to basically, let's pack up the house and let's go. I can't, putting myself in her shoes for a moment, I was just like, man. And I'm glad Kyle asked about the kids, because that's the first thing I thought about was my 4 children. If I told them, you have an hour, get all of your stuff packed up, we're leaving. We don't know if we're ever coming back.
Right.
Yeah. And whatever you carry, whatever you take, you have to be able to carry, because we're going to walk across the border.
Yeah.
Yeah. You better figure out what you really want real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it, dude. That would be just, and then here we are complaining about gas prices, and it's just,
Yeah.
Kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? I was really hopeful we would have time to have her talk about, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but we get these news reports over here, and it was nice to know that she still has some contact with her husband. It sounds like, is that what you said, Brent? That
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's this big announcement yesterday, I think it was, or maybe the day before, that there were peace talks and that Russia was going to be pulling out of Kyiv and Chernihiv and all these places. And then, of course, this morning you wake up and the headlines are they're still just getting pummeled.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice because it's hard from the news outlets here to know exactly what's accurate. I wish we would have had a little time to give her the space to just maybe get into some of those details for us.
Well, and I think, from when we've talked to her before, she's getting the same kind of conflicting information. She's got, her husband can give her this micro view of what he's doing, but it's really hard to know what's happening outside of that, situation. It is so, the fog of war is just everywhere. It is just, I heard the other day that on a news report that they're pretty convinced that he's not really getting accurate information about how the war is going, that it's going much worse than what he's being told that it's going, so, and again, that's another twist, because it's like, that could be, anybody can manipulate information that way. And so,
For sure.
anyhow, yeah.
And what might be the consequences? Like, they lose this war and it all settles down. It sounds to me like people are going to be up for trial, like war crimes.
Right.
Well, Russia's already suffering a lot of consequences right now. With all the sanctions, like, you can't even go to a movie. Like, they don't even have movies. There's no McDonald's are shut down. Like, you can't buy Nikes in Russia. There's a lot of stuff, normal day-to-day stuff too, with banking, and just they're definitely suffering. And eventually, either Putin's going to have to make a decision. Like, do I stop and try to get things back to normal, or do I possibly face a revolt? You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality of it. People are going to get sick and not having nothing.
Well, and all the people that have protested, right? How many thousands of people have they arrested? I don't know where they're putting them all, but thousands of protesters they have reported, So at some point, you're right. You have a whole bunch of your grassroots people that are just like,
done.
We aren't putting up with this anymore.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be interesting.
It is. And one of the things when we talked to Zee about this earlier and asked her about, could there be a revolt? She said that she felt like the revolt could come from the rich folks. What's the name they have a name for those guys?
Bourgeois or whatever, maybe.
Something guard. Well, anyhow.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that all of those wealthy people that have been supporting Putin, they're the ones and they're losing humongous amounts of money, and that they're the ones that could say, hey, we're not going to put up with this anymore, because they're really the only ones that have the power to do that. They're the only ones that really have power. The civilians in Russia, and this is what I was kind of getting from Zee, the civilians really don't have that much power, but the money people do have power. So,
well, I think if enough civilians come together, there's always power in masses.
Right. Well, yeah, of course.
If you had enough people mad in America and they all came together, there'd be big trouble.
Right.
I think it just comes down to people, how fearful. At some point, there's enough of an uprising that everyone's willing to come out or move forward. They've got enough backing. But right now, you probably have those who are trying to weigh out, like, what are the consequences going to be? Because Putin's not afraid to make me really pay.
To drop the hammer, yeah.
Right.
The rich people, most of those rich people in Russia, they're all gangsters. Like, they aren't like rich people like here. Well, I guess some of the people here, but like from what I understand, most of the people that are in like powerful positions money wise are like mafia, type, like not legit businessmen,
Yeah.
So if I was Putin, I'd be a little bit afraid. Like they might just off him and put him in a boat somewhere and float him away.
I mean, legitimately, I think he does have to worry about his life at this point. I really do.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why he's hiding. That's why nobody knows where he's at. He's probably in a spaceship somewhere. It's probably not even on the Earth.
Yeah. Well, and and talking about that, how confusing it is, that so talking about space, how we've been in this collaborative effort in space, and a lot of it depends on our relationship with Russia. And so you have guys that are in space, and when they went up in space, we had this friendly relationship with Russia, and since then it's like all going south. And so that's been a little bit interesting for those guys.
I think that's the case worldwide. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people's relationships with Russia are now broken. Russia's been isolated, and that's going
Nobody
to
likes
affect
them right now.
the Russian people for decades.
Right.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, and especially as soon as even more details come out of atrocities that are happening, and there's that city that I saw some footage of, the city that finally Russia has conquered. It's kind of on the coast, and they've been after it from the very beginning. And it's bombed. It's just decimated. The buildings that are standing are just skeletons. And it seems like they've fully conquered that city, but there's still 100,000 people that are there, that are existing, that are living, and it's just craziness.
Yep.
So, well,
Crazy world, man.
yeah.
Dang.
Well, what else? Anything else?
World is crazy.
Well, do you guys think gas prices will go down now that Biden's releasing the secret oil?
Is there secret oil? I guess I haven't heard that.
I don't really pay attention to
You don't?
the news,
Oh
believe
gosh,
it or
yeah.
not.
Like I'm trying to remember where it's at, but he's releasing like something like 100 million barrels of oil, so that to try to combat the gas prices.
It's funny because Tanya, yesterday when we were coming back from lunch, there was a little bit of a LeGrand traffic jam, as much of a traffic jam as LeGrand has. And her comment was like, don't these people know that the price of gas is up, and I told her, I said, yeah, well, it hasn't changed our driving habits at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
I still see people in giant trucks with huge tires going through Starbucks, and I'm like,
yeah,
they're still buying their coffees, even with gas at, $5 a gallon almost.
Right. But the funny thing is it's the thing that we notice, that gas has gone up, but it's not, it's in our minds, it's bigger than what I think it really is. Yes, it does impact our lives, but we spend a lot of money on coffee. If you buy coffee through an espresso place. Yeah. Kyle spends a lot of money on coffee.
I've never bought a coffee.
I know.
I've only ever bought coffee for other people.
Yeah. Energy drinks are
Yeah, but energy drinks are pretty cheap compared
how
to
much
like
are they? How much is
$2?
Okay.
$2. Like
right.
The coffee's like
a
$5.
soda. Yeah.
I totally agree with what you're saying, Brent. And we can, in LeGrand, we have the benefit too of this being a small enough town that you could pretty much walk or ride your bike just about anywhere.
I walk quite regularly to work.
Yeah.
Right. But I also know that my budget has changed, and that my grocery budget and my gas budget,
right.
Like we have had to rearrange things in our personal budget as our family, just because of the changes. And
groceries are way more expensive too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what people miss sometimes is that, the big cost of the price of the pump changing is everything that is shipped, which in LeGrand is everything that comes in is going to be more expensive because the price of fuel to get it here has increased. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it was already on the upward trend even before the gas crisis because of COVID. Stuff not being available. Like,
Yeah.
And then it causes the price to just kind of trickle up. Like, I noticed several things at the grocery store where even before gas went up, where it was like, why is this so expensive now? Like, what made this happen? And it had to have been COVID. I mean, that's the only explanation for it.
So Wade, I noticed that like you do not have a nurse's haircut any longer.
What's a nurse's haircut?
I don't know.
was wondering the same thing.
So from the front you look like totally, but you got the party going on in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't you always had your hair like that for a while?
Mm-hmm. I had this even as a nurse. So.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, do you miss talking about COVID?
No.
Me neither.
No. I think everybody has been affected by it. There's not one group of people who haven't, obviously, but the nursing field, I've had just a lot less stress talking about vaccines and masks and what medicines work and what don't. And it was just such a hard thing because just like this war, people are getting information from all over the place.
Right.
And as medical professionals, and it was like this before COVID because people would always sit in hospital rooms with their tablets and get on WebMD and like start challenging a lot of the stuff that you were doing. And that's pretty typical. But then you got all this information coming at them. And even in the healthcare field, we were getting new information about COVID all the time because it's a brand new thing, right? It's a pandemic. So the intensity, yeah, I don't miss that. I really miss the people up there. What a great group of people I worked with and leadership, and pray for those guys all the time. And I still hear from them fairly frequently, and they're hanging in there. But it's a hard time in healthcare. Now the aftermath is kind of this, how do we get nurses to come back to work who've gone either traveling and left holes, or there's just a shortage. There's a huge need for nurses.
Because a traveling nurse can make what, a third more? I mean, how much more do they? I mean, they just make a lot more money, right?
Yeah, sometimes twice as much. Yeah, the wages. It's kind of a cyclic thing. We were losing nurses, and then you didn't have a plethora of nurses to, fill in those gaps. So you had to pay for the travel nurses at the wages that they were asking for. And so this thing just kept feeding itself, as there was more and more demand, the wages kept going up. And that's where you heard the government maybe stepping in, putting a cap on that stuff. But I'll just say I'm really proud of our hospital here, Grand Run Hospital, and the nurses who have stuck it out and just taken the time in the midst of the craziness. One thing I was so proud of is our patient satisfaction scores. They were going up actually as I was leaving, because our nurses did such a great job of, no matter what was going on, they knew how to walk into that room and show that patient compassion and that they were there for them, and the patient never felt the stress because those guys were doing such a great job of that. So
good stuff. Are you liking your new job?
Loving it.
So briefly,
Absolutely.
tell people that don't know what you're doing. Just briefly tell them what you're doing, Wade.
I mean, it's kind of boring stuff, but I'm managing right now it's only 6 people. They're slowly giving me more people because I'm brand new. I've been onboarding for the last 2 weeks. But basically, this job is with a company that's called Zenify, and I have developers that work underneath me that develop software for companies. They specialize the software. They tweak it to make it work for whoever hires the company to basically, hey, build your software to work for us. And I don't even know anything about what they do technically. I literally check in with them and just say, hey, how are you doing? What do you need? I'm a coach. I'm a mentor. I help people develop their profession and get them going in the direction they want to go. And I'm an advocate really for my guys, for my whole team. So I love it. I'm at home. I get to have breakfast with my family every morning. I'm home every night for dinner.
Wow.
It's very flexible. I'm right now training for a 50-mile run on the coast. And I can get those runs in every day, and I'm loving it, man. I just think it's been the right move. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. The only time I run is to the toaster when it's burning my toast.
If you see me running, you better run too, because there's something really wrong.
But I would have to say that Kelsey, and you know Kelsey well, my daughter's a nurse, and she's been like pestering about my health. And I was frustrated yesterday afternoon and took a walk downtown and sent her a picture of me taking a walk. It's like, yeah, so just getting out. So
Good for you.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah. Well,
On this day.
yeah.
On this day, 1889, this is March 31st, the last day of March, the Eiffel Tower was opened. The very first flag that was hung on the Eiffel Tower was a French flag because it was designed by French engineer Alexandre Eiffel. It's crazy, right? The very first flag is what's flown on the landmark of Paris, and it's French. 1918, on this day, first daylight savings time in U.S. goes into effect. Aren't we going to get rid of daylight savings or stay on daylight?
Yeah, but let's go
savings,
back.
one or the other?
I'm confused. But the Eiffel Tower is in France.
Oh,
though,
it is.
right?
It is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
Okay,
but
go ahead.
there's something about the flag with Paris and the guy. I just don't remember.
Okay, it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, I got mixed up. 1931, brilliant Notre Dame football coach Newt Rockne. 1931 was killed when him and 7 others crashed in a light airplane on a trip from Kansas City to LA. His record of 105, 12, and 5 is still the highest ever at Notre Dame. And there's a lot of Newt Rockne quotes and pictures. And the last one, I didn't go past this day because there wasn't much after this. 1985, on this day, WrestleMania 1, Madison Square Garden. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T beat Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. It's huge, man.
Yeah,
WrestleMania,
no, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
Since then, WrestleMania has grown into a $1 billion corporation. So,
Wow.
let's see here. The number one song on this day. I think I went to 2012 because I didn't have a choice because all the other ones had already been done. So 10 years ago on this day, the number one song in America was "Up All Night" by One Direction. And I know my youngest daughter is in love with these guys. I don't know the song myself. So, and then my quote for the day: Abraham Lincoln. It's hard for me to see, so I have to move over here. If I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 sharpening my axe. And so yeah, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 sharpening my axe. That just blanked Wade out completely, like, right in the middle. Oh yeah, first Friday. We don't have anything until next Tuesday for us.
Next Tuesday.
Cody Bowen show tonight, 5:30. Special guest Talissa Boldovino, I think. No, there's no I.
Okay.
I know there's. I want to say that. That's where I want to go with it, but I think it's Boldovino. And she's a corrections officer up here, and we'll go live at 5:30. We'll go for about an hour until you guys stop asking questions.
Yep. All righty. Thank you, Eastern Oregon. Hey, thanks, Wade, for jumping in with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Wade.
You bet.
Appreciate you.
Anytime.
Yep. Talk to you soon.